Hey, Seminole fans, we got some breaking news out of Tallahassee. Just in, we learned that four-star wide receiver CJ Wiley, one of the top wide receiver recruits in the nation, has decommitted from FSU. Now, this is a major blow for the Seminoles. We're already struggling on the season with just one win, and all three of the blue chip wide receiver commits that we landed over the summer are now all gone. With no other wide receiver commits, this news only adds to the growing concerns surrounding the program. Now, for those of you not familiar with CJ Wiley, he is a force to be reckoned with at the wide receiver position. He's a big frame receiver, very physical. He stands 6'4", and he has a pretty good catch radius. I'm not going to lie. Major red zone threat, similar to Keon Coleman in a sense. He still has to develop and grow into his frame, but he's definitely a threat in the receiving game. He's pretty good at tracking some of those deep balls. He's not afraid to go over the middle and grab those balls. And he's pretty good with, picking up yards after the catch. He's just a dynamic playmaker. And that's why FSU was after him. So let's talk about the significance of this decommitment. Now, we have no other wide receivers committed at the moment, and this is a concern. Why? Because we need depth. But we have all these receivers on the team, you say. Yeah, we do, and we're going to go over some of them real quick. We got Malik Benson. He's a senior, so he's going to be gone. We have redshirt senior Ja'Kai Douglas, which he's actually been pretty decent this year. So, I would welcome him back. I would be pretty excited if he came back. Now, Kentron Portier, Dewspan, Darion Williams, they're all redshirt seniors. They have not been good this year. They all need to hit the portal and go. Now, we have two sophomores. We got Hakeem Williams and we got Destin Hill. Both have a lot of upside. Both have not really done much in their time at Florida State. Hakeem Williams, he's been injured this year. Same with Destin Hill. And Hakeem Williams, he's already dropped a few balls, but I actually think he can turn the corner with some good coaching. So I would welcome him and Destin Hill back just to see what they can do. We got redshirt freshman Jalen Brown. He needs to hit the portal. I wouldn't be mad if he never sees the field again. And then we got several freshmen. We got Lawan McCoy, Elijah Moore, BJ Gibson, and Camden Fryer. And we really only seen action from McCoy, and he's been pretty good. So I'd welcome him back. I'd be pretty excited if we have him back. But that would leave us with Hakeem Williams, Destin Hill, Lawayne McCoy, and Ja'Kai Douglas if he decides to come back. That's four wide receivers. That's not a lot of depth. Now, you'd expect some of the other freshmen maybe to stick around just because we need them, unless they decide to hit the portal, Elijah Moore, B.J. Gibson, and Camden Fryer. But, again, we don't know their ability. We don't know what they can bring to the table. That's even if they stick around. So losing C.J. Wiley, it's big, really big, because our depth is going to take a hit. And so usually with your recruiting classes, you have one player who will kind of do the recruiting for you, like we saw last year with Cam Davis and Luke Kromenhoek. I don't think we have a recruit like that in the fold this year who's going to be trying to recruit other players to Florida State. Now, CJ Wiley, I thought might be one of those guys who tries to recruit others, but now he's gone. That's out of the picture. So this is a big concern for Florida State. How will they address this? So let's talk about the impact on future recruiting, which we kind of already touched on, right? Florida State's going to lose the ability now to attract other recruits because of CJ Wiley. They're going to smell They're going to smell that blood in the water. They're going to sense it. And these other programs, they're going to start poaching recruits as they've already done. And so that just means Mike Norvell and rest of the staff, their jobs are going to get a lot more harder. So they have, again, that uphill battle. I don't know if they can dig themselves out of this hole, guys. But Florida State recently extended an offer to four-star UCF wide receiver commit Javen Boggs. And I have to think that this decommitment didn't come out of left field as a surprise to Mike Norvell, because we started to hear talk about Javen Boggs, having some interest in visiting Florida State over the past several days. And I think that is in relation to the Noles possibly losing CJ Wiley and needing a receiver to step up. And I think that has kind of been playing in the background a little bit. That's just my speculation on it. That's just my thoughts. So, come to a surprise to us, but I think this has kind of already been going on in the background for about a week or so. It's tough, guys. It's tough. Man, when it rains, it pours. Right now, it's hard to be a Florida State fan. I mean, you got recruits jumping ship. We're not winning any games. We just lost to Miami, and I don't even know if we're going to win another game this year. So let's look at some of the fans' reactions to this. So I went ahead and snapped some pictures on Twitter, and let's see what they have to say. Now, RG Pickle says, I think it's time to move on. It's the quickest way to rebuild. And hey, there's some truth to that. It's time to move on. Maybe CJ Wiley found out that Mike Norvell or that Ron Dugans is not going to be here next year. Maybe he heard through the grapevine that, hey, my wide receiver coach isn't going to be here next year. I got to find a new team. So maybe there's already some pieces starting to be moved, so to speak. So I agree with that. I think it's time to move on too. All right, the next one we got is from Stuart Wilkes. So we fired Dugans? Hey, maybe we did, and it's just not made public yet. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he was left in Miami. Next one, Casey Kidd says, why should we care? None of them pan out anyways. And there's, again, yeah, that's true. I mean, think about it. We had Hakeem Williams, a 5-star wide receiver, last year. What has he done? Besides try to jump and miss a ball, that's all he's done. He hasn't really caught much. He's been injured. None of these guys seem to pan out. Hopefully, LaWayne McCoy can turn the corner and change that for these recruits and for the program. Next one, Jordan, he says, I don't blame them. The product on the field is horrible, but so is the accountability and personal management. And that is true. There's no accountability with these receivers. Like Nick Saban said on game day, I'm not a fan of Nick Saban or ESPN. If they're not producing, they need to sit on the bench. And maybe Norvell's done that with a few of them, but there's a lot more I think they need to sit the bench. There's no accountability. Personal management, I talked about that in my last video. That's one of the reasons why Florida State lost against Miami. They couldn't even manage that 3rd and 20. Mike Norvell couldn't even manage those 4th downs that he missed on. But enough of that. Next one, Luke Skywalker. He says, what's going on, Tally? Hey, that's the $1 million question we all want to know. What's going on in Tallahassee? It's one thing to lose, some close games and stuff. It's one thing to have, hey, a bad year, but to go from an undefeated regular season in ACC champs to 1 win, that's mind-boggling. That's terrible. I don't know what's going on. I can't figure it out. But I know it starts with the coaches. I know that much. The next one, Sports Chats, says, I get the feeling this may be the first of many. FSU will remain a transfer portal team. And again, there's going to be more decommits. It's the first domino fell a few weeks ago with one of the wide receivers decommitting. Then it was a second. Now it's the third. You're going to start to see some players enter the portal, and with another loss or two losses on the year, which I think will happen, you're going to start to see some of the other key pieces to this class that was keeping it somewhat respectable. I think we were ranked in the 30s. They're going to start to decommit. And I don't even know where we're ranked now. Maybe someone can look that up and let me know in the comments. Drop it in the comments. What is FSU's recruiting ranking right now as a result of CJ Wiley decommitting? Last time I looked, if I remember correctly, it was like 37 or something. So things are only going to get harder for Florida State going forward with recruiting. And that means also with developing, because you'll have less talent, so to speak, to develop. And that's going to make it harder because you're going to be relying on lower quality, lower talented players to develop. And so that means the coaches are going to have to work that much harder to get these players in shape and in position to be ready and to be able to learn the offense and to be able to execute on the field. 3 phases that need to be addressed with recruits. Moving on, we got 2 more quotes from Twitter. Andrew says, he actually cares about his future. You can't blame some of these recruits, guys. To be honest, I know we got to take off our garnet and gold glasses and, look at it, from the perspective of maybe say like a father. If this was your kid, would you want them going to Florida State, seeing the product on the field? To be honest, I wouldn't. And I'm a diehard Noles fan. I bleed garnet and gold, just like rest of you. But if my son said, Dad, I want to go to Florida State, I wouldn't say that I'd, dissuade him. I wouldn't, but I'd tell him honestly, like, hey, there might be a better path for you with another team. I'm being honest. I would say, hey, maybe explore all options. Now, if it was last year, yeah, I wouldn't be saying that. But with seeing the product and on the field this year, the mismanagement, the miscommunications, the lack of development, I wouldn't be, I wouldn't push my kid necessarily to a school like that. So, last one, Andrew says, we got to that one. Last one, Barstool FSU says, we're cooked. And I think that's a great way to end this fans reaction segment is yes. I think we're cooked, guys. I think we are cooked. Can it get any worse this year for Florida State? Let me know in the comments below if it can. What would have to happen for it to get worse for Florida State this year? Can the Noles turn it around on the recruiting trail? Let me know in the comments below. This is Nole Hard Feelings, and I'm out.